The first light was a pale smear against the blinds, just a hint of gray pushing back the dark. My phone screen, still glowing from the late-night scroll, was the first thing I registered. Tuesday. It wasn't that I hated Tuesdays, exactly. It was more a continuation. A relentless march of classes, homework, and the ever-present hum of social expectations. I dragged myself out of bed, the familiar creak of the floorboards a soundtrack to my morning. The bathroom mirror offered a reflection of someone I barely recognized: messy brown hair, dark circles under my eyes, the faint ghost of a smile that rarely reached them. School was fine. A predictable rhythm of lectures, whispered conversations, and the constant awareness of being both present and somehow detached. Mr. Harrison's history class was particularly draining this week. He had this way of making dates and battles feel so incredibly distant, like they belonged to someone else entirely. I found myself staring out the window, watching the cars crawl along the highway, lost in thoughts that weren't about the French Revolution. Lunch was spent with Maya and Chloe, dissecting the latest drama, who was dating who said what to whom. It felt like an important ritual, this shared gossip, a way of navigating the complex social landscape of high school. But sometimes I felt like an observer in their world, nodding along but not truly participating. After school, I headed to the library, seeking refuge in the quiet stacks. I'd been working on a short story for English, something about a lighthouse keeper and a storm. It wasn't particularly good, I knew, but it was a world I could create, a space where things made sense. That evening, dinner with my family was typical. My mom, endlessly concerned about college applications. My dad, quietly reading the newspaper. My younger brother, making noise and complaining about his video game. I mostly stayed silent, picking at my food, feeling that familiar sense of being on the outside looking in. Later, curled up with a book, I felt a flicker of something else, a quiet contentment. The world outside might be chaotic, but within the pages of a story, I could find a sense of peace. The week unfolded in a similar pattern: classes, homework, friends, family. There were small moments of joy, a funny meme shared with Maya, a surprisingly insightful comment from Mr. Harrison, the feeling of accomplishment after finishing a difficult math problem. And there were moments of unease, a fleeting glance from someone in the hallway that felt strangely intense, a nagging worry about an upcoming test, the unsettling feeling of being watched while walking home from school. The weekend offered a brief respite. I spent Saturday exploring the local farmers market with Maya, the air filled with the scent of fresh produce and the chatter of vendors. We didn't buy anything, just wandered and people watched, soaking up the atmosphere. Sunday was quiet, a long walk in the woods, the sunlight filtering through the trees, a feeling of being small and insignificant in the face of nature's vastness. As the month progressed, things shifted subtly. The weather turned colder, the days shorter. School became more intense, the pressure mounting with each passing week. There was a new boy in my English class, Liam. He had this quiet intensity about him, a way of looking at you that made you feel seen. We started talking about books, about music, about things that had nothing to do with school. It felt different, a connection that went beyond the surface. But there were also moments of anxiety. A disagreement with Maya over something trivial, a feeling of being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information I had to absorb. The fear of failure loomed, a constant shadow in the back of my mind. I found myself overthinking everything, analyzing every interaction, searching for hidden meanings. One evening, while working on my story, I realized it wasn't just about the lighthouse keeper and the storm. It was about feeling lost, about searching for a light in the darkness, about finding meaning in the chaos. And maybe, just maybe, that was something I was starting to understand about myself. The end of the semester brought a sense of relief, a feeling of finally reaching a milestone, but it also brought a sense of uncertainty. What would happen next? What would the summer hold? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswered. As I lay in bed one night, staring at the ceiling, I realized that life wasn't about finding all the answers. It was about navigating the questions, about embracing the uncertainty, about finding beauty in the mundane moments. It was about the quiet hum of existence, the subtle shifts in feeling, the slow, steady process of becoming. And in that realization, there was a strange sense of peace.